Some places hold history like a secret, whispering their past in the wind, waiting for the right person to listen. Firenze, Florence, was one such place. My wife and I, along with another couple, had decided to take a long awaited trip through Europe, soaking in the art, history, and culture of each city we visited. When we arrived in Florence, I was immediately struck by how every street, every building, every stone beneath our feet seemed to hum with the echoes of centuries past. If you've ever been to Florence, you'll know what I mean. It is a city where the past refuses to fade, where time itself lingers in the arches of bridges and the towering beauty of the Duomo. Every step you take, you are never more than a breath away from something historic. And with history, sometimes comes something else, a hotel with a past. Our first night in Florence, we stayed in a sleek, modern hotel with an unbeatable view of the Duomo. It was comfortable, convenient, and entirely unremarkable. The only problem? The hotel was fully booked beyond that night. The staff, however, kindly arranged a room for us in another hotel just a few streets away. The moment we arrived at our new lodging, I knew this place was different. The building was beautiful, no doubt about that, elegant yet imposing, its weathered stone walls standing as a testament to centuries of life before us. It had the look of something grand and old, something that had been built for nobility. Chateau-like, if I had to describe it. Inside, the atmosphere shifted. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood and aged stone, mingling with something else, something older, something intangible. While my friend handled check-in, I wandered through the lobby, drawn to a wall-mounted display of framed photographs, faded documents, and antique trinkets. A quick glance at the plaques beneath the images told me everything I needed to know. This place had been many things in its long life: a private residence of a wealthy family, a convent, a hospital, an insane asylum, a hospital once again, and now a hotel. I had seen enough horror films to know that a building with that kind of history was bound to have some lingering spirits. But I shrugged off the unease that curled at the edge of my mind. No need to mention any of this to my wife, who, unlike me, had no patience for the supernatural. We checked our bags, spent the day wandering the city, and returned to the hotel late that evening, exhausted but exhilarated. Our room was lovely. Warm lighting, classic furnishings, a tall dresser standing in the far corner beside the window. The walls carried the scent of age, but the bed was comfortable, and that was all we needed. Soon we were asleep. The woman in white dawn arrived with quiet grace, the first hints of sunlight threading through the edges of the heavy curtains. I am a light sleeper, an early riser by nature, and I lay in bed, half awake, thinking about the day ahead. Then I saw her. She was floating, a woman dressed entirely in white, hovering just above the ground at the far corner of the room, between the window and the dresser. I could see her clearly. She was neither fully solid nor translucent, existing in that impossible in-between, like a figure glimpsed through rippling water. Her dress flowed around her in a way that suggested it belonged to another era, and her hair was pale, her skin almost luminous in the dim morning light. She wasn't frightening, not in the way I expected. She was looking at me, and she was smiling. It was not a mischievous smile, nor eerie or unsettling. It was warm, tender, filled with an indescribable kindness. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I simply stared back at her. I don't know how long we stayed like that, locked in silent observation. There was no exchange of words, no movement aside from the gentle shift of her gown, no telepathic message carried between us, only the understanding that she was there. I should have been terrified, and yet I wasn't. I was startled, yes, unnerved, but not afraid. There was no malice in her presence, no sense of threat, only a quiet familiarity, as if she had been waiting for someone to notice her. Beside me, my wife stirred in her sleep, rolling over and draping an arm across my chest. She mumbled something half coherent, still caught in the web of dreams. And yet, I did not break eye contact with the woman. A strange sort of calm had settled over me, and without realizing it, I found myself mirroring her expression. A small, genuine smile. Still watching the apparition, I whispered to my wife, "Don't look, but there's a woman in our room. She's floating. I think she's a ghost." My wife's eyes snapped open. I felt her body tense against mine. She stayed completely still for several long moments. Then, with slow deliberation, she clenched her eyes shut, shaking her head slightly in an "I don't want to see" sort of way. The woman didn't react. She didn't move. And then, without warning, she simply drifted backward into the wall. No farewell, no flicker of emotion. She was just gone. I turned back to my wife. "You can look now." She did not. I could tell she was praying. The record of the lost. At breakfast, I recounted the experience to our friends who, unsurprisingly, did not believe a word of it. But the hotel staff? That was a different story. Later that morning, I approached the front desk and hesitated before speaking. I wasn't sure how to bring it up, how to ask if their establishment had a habit of harboring lingering spirits. But before I could fully form my question, the woman behind the desk regarded me with a knowing look. "Would you like to fill out a form?" she asked. I blinked. "A form?" She nodded. "For your experience, many of our guests report similar occurrences. Some find it comforting. Others, not so much. We began keeping records to allow people to write down what they saw. We found it helps." She slid a small, neatly bound journal across the counter. I looked at it, and then, after a long moment, I pushed it back toward her. "No," I said softly. "I don't think I need to." She smiled as if she understood. The smile that stayed to this day. I remember her, the Lady of Firenze, as I have come to call her. I remember her gentle presence, the warmth of her expression, the kindness in her smile. I don't know who she was, a former resident, a patient, a lost soul, searching for a connection. I'll never know. But if she's still there, still floating in that quiet morning light, I hope she knows that her presence was not unwelcome. And wherever she may be now, I thank her for reaching out and for smiling back.